Hi, I'm Matt, here in Michigan.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. Today, Matt and I are bringing you a look back to a 1995 film, comedy Major Payne. It stars Damon Wayans, Karen Parsons, Steve Martini, and Orlando Brown. It is directed by Nick Castle, who's also known for The Boy Who Could Fly, Dennis the Menace, and to my great surprise, The Last Starfighter. He also wrote the screenplay from Escape from New York, of all things. But before we go too far into looking into this film, be sure that if you like this video, you give it a like. Those likes really help us out. And if you want to see more, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell icon if you always want to be notified when we're uploading new videos.
Now, Major Payne is about a special ops Marine who is honorably discharged. His new job, training a group of misfit JROTC students who don't want to be led. Now, whipping these kids into shape becomes his toughest battle yet. It has earned $30 million at the worldwide box office. Major Payne received poor reviews from critics, but about average reviews from audiences. Alright, Randall, I'll let you have the first go at this. What do you think about Major Payne?
Major Payne is number one, very nostalgic, so I'll try to be not so nostalgic towards it, but it's a real mixed bag watching it nowadays. Watching it was simultaneously funny, but not funny because the jokes are very far from PC. Like a lot of the downright derogatory body humor just doesn't work for me anymore. Maybe I'm older. That's just not what comedy is. Comedy doesn't age well very often. But some of the situational humor was still really hitting home with me. And so the situational stuff was great, and where we found these characters was fun. But so much of it was kind of like military satire for drill sergeants and whatnot, and just like denigrating people, that I found that kind of hard to watch in a comedy aspect. But Matt, maybe I'm way off. What did you think?
No, I'm there with you. I had a bit of a mixed bag with this too. There's lots of parts of this movie that I was laughing at quite a bit. And then there was some other parts where, the jokes weren't really all that funny anymore to me and kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit watching this or whatever. But, I do like that it is one of these exaggerated characters. And like you mentioned about, military, I think this is, a satire, whatever you want to say, on some of the other military movies like Full Metal Jacket or something like that. But instead of, having hardened Marines or whatever that we're training, kids. But
Ragtag group.
yeah, ragtag group, and they're being trained though by a natural killer or whatever. But with how we set this movie up and we make Major Payne this big exaggerated character, I think that definitely helps the film a bit. If he was like a straight laced person in like a comedy, this movie doesn't work at all.
Yeah, no, you couldn't have this comedy be Major Payne being the straight-laced character. Instead, that comes from one of the cadets, the older cadet. He's the more straight-laced character here. I found it that if you look at it from the perspective of thinking of these people as almost caricatures, everyone's super exaggerated. And it's on purpose. It's not trying to be realistic, but that doesn't take away from the fact that even outside of that, even looking at it specifically as a comedy, as caricatures, things happen that are really unacceptable, especially by modern standards. But one of the things that just outright bugs me, it bugs me so much, it's still a problem in Hollywood today. Major Payne is not a likable man by any standards. And in fact, there's a great scene where the main female protagonist outright calls out Major Payne as like a psychopath.
And I call you an insecure, overbearing, psychopathic, dictatorial, egomaniacal, frigid lunatic.
But then like 2 scenes after that scene, they're all having a good time, dancing and getting to know one another and, coupling and everything. And I'm like, no, you said it. You were right about his character. He's not likable. And you shouldn't fall for him and you shouldn't like him. There's no reason for you to like him. And let's be honest, there's no reason for Padme to like Anakin, but But it's that same problem, you know, where it's like, I killed them all. Oh, I love you. No, you don't. You know, like, that is a problem in this film that bugs me, and it bugs me in lots of films. But in a comedy, it's played off for laughs, but in reality, it's like, even in the context of a comedy, I find it hard.
Yeah, Randall, I agree with you for a bit of it too. I was kind of like, yeah, I don't really know about like this, relationship thing going on. But there are two scenes that I think did soften me up a little bit to it. One is where, she kind of like sees that he's maybe doesn't know any like affection or whatever. And that's, of course, when, Tiger gives him the hug and he acts all weird. So I think she's kind of thinking like, well, this is someone who's suffering from like post-traumatic stress disorder, especially when hearing about his story about the little engine that could, and realizing that he's actually describing something that actually happened to him. So I think she kind of softens up as like, hey, this is a guy that just has had some really bad experiences and is someone that needs some, positive emotional, thing in his life. But yeah, do I really, believe that, she's really falling for him? I don't know. I mean, maybe she just likes some of his kind gesture stuff, but yeah, for how his personality and stuff is too, it's kind of interesting. But yeah, who knows?
I don't want to take away. In fact, I even noted it. Make sure to put a caveat. Like, his character does go through some character growth, which is good. It's nice. He's not just this solid, killing machine who done all the killing need be done, Matt.
Killing is my business, ladies, and business is good.
But I still don't buy, like, hey, I'm a counselor or a soft-hearted person who sees that he is in pain and could use help is like a leap to let's have a relationship and get together. I found that still pretty difficult to deal with. Again, even in the confines of a comedy, I know someone in the comments is probably going to point out, "Oh, you're ridiculous. It's a comedy. Get over it." I'm like, yeah, but it's still showing unhealthy relationships.
Well, and this movie does a pretty good job of pointing out other like unhealthy relationships and stuff too, especially with one of our cadets or whatever you want to say, junior ROTC members or whatever, and his father. Oh wow!
Whoa, no, father-in-law, Matt.
Father-in-law, that's right.
or
stepdad
or not in-law,
whatever.
stepdad. There you go.
Kind of thing. And Major Payne puts him in his place without throwing a punch or anything in that. And I think that's where the squad kind of warms up to him in that moment. It's like, hey, he actually does have our back, and he does somewhat maybe care for us a little bit as people, kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, this movie is a comedy and is really just played up for laughs. I don't think the story is the big part of it, even though I think there is some heartwarming parts, or some development in this movie about coming together as a team and changing priorities.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out that scene, by the way, with the stepdad. Number one, it's Michael Ironside. Blink and you miss it, There's that, and that's great. Always enjoy to see Michael Ironside in a film. But also, it's one of the few serious, straight-laced like scenes in the entire film, and it's done very, very well. Where it's like, I don't need to like pummel this guy into submission, which is kind of a character growth on Payne's part from earlier in his tiny little stint in civilian life.
Don't never hit her again. Hear me? Hear me?
He might be like a terrible SOB, but he's our terrible SOB, and he does in some form care for us. That is probably like that turning point in the film where you get into I believe the montage. Gotta have a montage. So
even 90s films need a montage.
Even 90s films need a montage from time to time. Of course, parodying 80s films. So that gets into a different conversation about the other characters. So not just Major Payne and the doctor, counselor woman. I honestly don't know exactly what she does. But all of the JROTC guys, they all do a pretty decent job, honestly. It's for kids, but the standout role does go to Steve Martini. Like, he does a good job as that older cadet, as the person who is kind of, the anti-establishment, but is clearly a natural leader in and of himself. He just needs to be given that responsibility, and Payne sees that, so you get to see his character growth. So there are parts in this film that are definitely well done and well, I guess give it some breathing room other than just being a dumb comedy.
I think part of that too might be that Steve Martini is the only kid that is not actually a kid. I don't know. I would have to look it up. I'm not sure exactly how old he was.
He was like 18 or 19.
Was he?
Yeah.
Heck, I would have pegged him for even older than that, kind of in this one. Yeah, I like the kids and stuff. This is one of those movies that I feel like is almost kind of like, I don't know, I want to say 2 parts or whatever. Like, we have one part of the movie that's really about, Major Payne doing his, over the top, military stuff, treating these kids like soldiers. And then, they're doing all the, like, pranks and everything on him. And then, it's not till, later in the movie where it's more of a, like a, heartfelt, hey, we're getting all of our growth and everything, and we're getting more, straight-laced kind of thing about that. Me, for the comedy and stuff, I actually think, even though, a lot of it raised eyebrows, the first part of the movie with, like, the back and forth and everything going, with them and stuff and having all the pranks, I think for me that were actually my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah, that's that situational humor that I was talking about that works for me, where they're trying to get rid of Major Payne. And also, like, the spot where they go on the the black op, and like, hey, we were ambushed. He goes,
Well, I might have made a little anonymous call.
That kind of situational humor is fine. All of the, oh, that character's fat, that character's got big ears, that character, is deaf. What are you, deaf? Well, yeah, he is. Like, all that stuff can go by the wayside and, stay in the 90s for all I care. But yes, that situational humor still works pretty well for me.
It's kind of funny too, like, kind of going back around. We're talking about, like, growth and everything too. And a lot of movies, how you feel about movies, I feel, is how it ends. Like, normally, if it ends really well, you have a good, like, lasting impression of the movie. And for me, this movie doesn't really give a good lasting impression, because one of the jokes that didn't really hit for me is at the end, it's like we're right back at the beginning where Major Payne is shaving a new cadet's head and shaving his dog kind of thing, and just kind of chuckling. We talk about all this growth that this character has, but he's right back, kind of at the beginning stuff. And that was one of those ones that it's like, I'm not really laughing at the end of this film.
I mean, that's the very, very end, which, I mean, I'll admit I have a small chuckle for, but I think it's a nostalgic chuckle, not like if I was watching it new, I would laugh. Before that, when they're at the military games, and I'll admit, I don't know how JROTC military games go, but man, that ending does not hit the way it did when I was younger. At all. I'm just like, yeah, Payne shows back up, but of course he does. No big surprise there. I guess the whole marching and the gunplay and everything showing that off, I'm like, that's just not that impressive. I guess by today's standards, I guess.
I mean, heck, I'm just thinking about the scene, leading up to that when, Payne's got to make his decision. Is he going to get on that train, or if he's going to go on to the games, and he gets that kind of like vision of his head of, like the home life with the picket fence or whatever. I think I laughed more at it. It was more of like, wow, this is a ridiculous scene or whatever, than like, oh, this is really funny. I mean, heck, I even like how the Viet Cong or whoever that's going in there has like a rubber, a rubber weapon or whatever. He's going, you can see it like wobbling and stuff as it coming through. So me, I guess, I laugh at that scene now for different reasons than I did when I used to laugh at it before.
What's weird about the ending of this, and that's like the impetus for him to go back, like, hey, maybe there is a place here for me without going back to the military and just being a killing machine. Everything that happens before that, where the team is coming together they're going in and they make it to the finals, that stuff's all pretty good, where it's like they don't need Major Payne for this. But then they all like lose their composure and everything, and they need that like push to get in and like, nope, we're gonna finish this. We're gonna do what we, came to do. And then of course you get that big thing with Tiger, which is the other cadet of note that we've spent a lot of time with. And I'm like, okay, it's cute and haha, it's funny, but at the same time, I feel like the older cadet could have done that still, like just watching what I just watched on the screen. I guess the ending just isn't that climactic. What would have been a much bigger, better climax is if you had ended with the relay race instead of the procession, I guess.
I think it's really just to show, like you said, the growth of, little Tiger, Orlando Brown's character or whatever. Like, oh, he's too young to be in anything. And, he's, because of that kind of adds to him, doubting himself a lot too. And he's basically just put into that moment where, everyone's behind him and trusts him. And he is able to have the confidence and stuff to perform. But yeah, I mean, it's a comedy. And even that performance or whatever is kind of like, yeah, I don't know that would actually go in like a military games. I don't know, could be wrong, I don't know, I've never been to a military games to really know, but for a comedy movie, it fits, and for the storyline, it fits too as part of that growth for little Tiger.
Yeah, we gotta have something for Tiger to do at the end, basically. Why have we spent all this time in this movie building this character to be a better character, but then not give him anything?
Randall, do I need to tell you the story of the little engine that could again?
Toot. See? There are parts in here that are quotable and funny, okay? They are.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of this movie, too, is like we were saying at the beginning, it's a mixed bag. There's quite a few parts of this movie that we can still quote, we can still laugh at stuff, too. But, overall, generally in this story, there's a lot of parts too that, kind of raise the eyebrows and don't really hit. So it's a movie, we had fond memories of, I think, watching it younger, but now, it's tarnished, I think, a little bit. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but it's not as shiny as a movie as, what we thought about it when we were younger.
I'm not sure that I knew that I ever thought of it as a shiny movie. like, yeah, younger me was obviously much more entertained by it, but shiny.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Well, anyways, Matt and I are always interested to know what you guys think. Are you nostalgic for Major Payne? Have you not seen it? Maybe you give it a chance and let us know in the comments below your thoughts and feelings. We also have other flashback movies, we do new movie reviews, we have deeper dive discussions, and of course we talk about TV shows every once in a while as well.
Also, be sure to check out our Facebook page. We got a lot of other posts there. We also post a day before our reviews come out to let you know the topic of the next video. You can set your calendar for when our videos come out. They come out every Monday and Thursday. For now, I'm Matt, here in Michigan. Have a good day, everyone.
And I'm Randall, here in Texas. See everyone next time.
Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.